Hello and welcome to The Overview, fueling the next generation of aerospace engineers. My name is Tag Durant. I am a graduate student in Stanford's Aeronautical and Astronautical Engineering Department and one of the founders of The Overview. I'm joined by my fellow graduate students and fellow co-founders. Why don't you guys take a minute to say hello?
Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm a first-year PhD student.
I'm Isaac, also a first-year PhD student here in the department.
And I'm Anshuk. I'm a first-year master's student in the department here.
Great. Before we get anything into too much, I should say that our work with The Overview is separate from our studies and work, and we are not paid or endorsed by the university, and the content we produce is made by us only for our fellow aspiring aerospace engineers. As much as we love Stanford, as much as we love going to school here, it's just our stuff. So let's get into it. What is The Overview, guys? What should we tell our listeners to expect? What is this that we're doing?
Yeah, I can jump in, but keen to hear what we all think of that. I mean, for me, the overview, I guess it's a set of sort of tools, information, connections that fellow aspiring aerospace engineers can subscribe to and basically, get the kind of information that they need to pursue a career in this domain.
And who would we define as aspiring aerospace engineers?
I think it'd be anyone from high school students to undergrads to even grad students or early professionals who are trying to understand what this field is like, what's happening, what's new, and how they can build the skills they need to get into the jobs that they want.
Absolutely, and I think also aspiring aerospace engineers, we just want to help give the resource that we wish that we had, like not just then, but also now. I feel like this project with The Overview, where we've started a newsletter and started putting out content about the aerospace industry, it's been helpful for me as a graduate student. And so we hope that also undergraduate and high school students will kind of have the resource that we wish we've had all along.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, up until now, we've sort of put out this fortnightly newsletter. We're now augmenting this with hopefully a fortnightly recording where we'll have interesting guests from aerospace come share their stories. So check us out at theoverview.org and hit subscribe to be reminded of that. But I agree. I think at Stanford, we're just blessed to have such great access to cool professors and resources and that type of stuff. So if we can share that widely through the medium of the internet, I say that's a win.
Yeah, and ultimately we want to create a community, so we'd love for anyone to get involved. We love to hear people's stories, and we want to have this as an inclusive environment as possible.
Absolutely. I'd love to give a shout out to our writers who have helped us out so far at The Overview, the newsletter. Some of our guest authors, Alexandra, Yuji, Mark, who else have we had so far? You guys have all written some fantastic articles as well.
Yeah.
You're
right. You made an interesting point about like still being a grad student and it being useful to like hear about sort of the cool stuff going on in aerospace, but also just in our department. I mean, Alexandra is the most recent article, and she wrote on space origami. Which
that was so cool.
I can't even believe that's a field, right?
No, me neither. It's like origami helps us explore space.
Yeah,
I didn't realize also the mathematical foundation she showed that is behind origami. That article blew my mind. That was so cool.
I know, it was so good. But I mean, to your point, it's I'm doing a PhD in aerospace, right? And I wasn't even aware of sort of the intricacies of that. So super useful, even I guess at that level too.
Sometimes we get so narrowed in on our field as grad students, we forget to expand our horizons to see the entire picture of aerospace.
Yeah.
It's also really interesting to hear the stories of their career for each person, and also sharing our own career stories, because it kind of highlights that everyone has a completely different path. Like Alexandra did all the origami math in middle school, way before she even was thinking about aerospace.
Yeah.
And then many years later it became absolutely useful, and now it's her career. So that's one. And then Mark's written some great articles on all kinds of, actual career paths, like how people got internships. And I think as an undergrad who's maybe struggling to figure out how to get into a particular career, it's really useful to see the stories of others who've had not the straightest paths towards where they are right now.
Yeah, there sort of is no traditional path, hey?
No.
The more we talk to people, the more we realize there's really a lot of ways to do it. Get into aerospace, I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm very much a learn by example kind of guy, so it's useful for me to see other people's paths, because for me it helps to see how someone actually did it, how they actually got in contact with someone for an internship or a professor to do research with, or discovered that their hobby was going to become their career. I love hearing those stories, because I feel like that's helped me now kind of think about, where do I want to go in the future? What do I want to accomplish in my career, and how am I going to get there?
Yeah, and I found out some people said physical male. That was crazy.
Is that someone here?
Yeah, trying to get internships, it can get competitive. I remember sending out physical mail during the COVID times, little card, little little patch kangaroo that I brought from back home in Australia.
Which
And it
maybe
worked.
go ahead.
It worked.
Yeah.
To give our listeners some context, maybe we should say a little bit where we're from, so you can understand why Isaac is sending kangaroos in the mail. Might make a little more sense. But
Yeah.
Isaac, why don't you start your background to help us give some context for that?
Yeah, so for clarity, well, g'day, first of all. That should probably clear some things
That
up.
should probably tell you where you're from.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't get that, then I can't help you. But yeah, Western Australia, that's where I'm from, just outside of a city called Perth. I went to the University of Western Australia there, sort of one of the big unis we have, and was always interested in aerospace. But it's not like, a big aerospace school. And certainly most people haven't heard of it when I mention it.
Yeah.
And we didn't even have an aerospace engineering program at the time. I don't know what it's like now. There was just sort of this generalized engineering. So I studied computer science and physics in my undergrad because I figured if you sort of take the average of that, it's roughly aerospace,
Yep.
But yeah, never really had the opportunity to get into it until I came over to the States on a Fulbright scholarship. Just got really lucky, basically. And then I did my research at JPL, NASA lab down in Los Angeles, while I was doing my master's at University of Southern Cal. Really liked sort of the space stuff that was going on there, and it was such a joy to work on, like Mars 2020 Perseverance is what I worked on, AI technologies for that. And yeah, I decided let's sort of roll it into a PhD and applied to a few schools, including Stanford, obviously, and now I'm here. Couldn't be more excited.
And Isaac is the lead adventurer of our PhD cohort. Always leading it.
Every weekend is a different adventure.
Yeah. What's this
Yosemite
weekend?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's trying to get us to go to Yosemite this weekend.
a casual half-dome climb,
Yeah, in the middle of where we're still taking midterms and quizzes every week.
Yeah.
Yeah, bad influence. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
So again, my name's Anshuk, and I'm originally from Hyderabad, which is in South India. Big city, big tech city. And so a lot of people I know are in the software field, but I don't know, I got inspired by aerospace kind of near the end of high school, and I decided to go to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Big engineering school, big public engineering school, and a very good aerospace program. So I got a lot of aerospace exposure then that really set me down the path that I am now, which is in guidance, navigation, and control, which is just getting your spacecraft where it needs to go, keeping it there, and making sure it knows it's where it is. And I've written an article for the overview actually about how I got into GNC and how I've built the skills that I've had so far in GNC. Other than that, I try to tag on to Isaac's adventures, but
We all try.
we all try. It's like he's beyond in many ways. But yeah, that's me.
You're doing some work for Tesla right now. I noticed the.
I am doing some work for Tesla right now.
And then this summer is where?
This summer is at SpaceX. This will be it's my first internship at Tesla and my third at SpaceX this summer. All controls, basically, how can we get the Cybertruck to where it needs to go, or how can we get the Starship booster to land where it needs to land? It's all kinds of problems like that.
Same kinds of underlying technologies, huh?
Yes, very similar. You understand your dynamics, you make a model of your system, and you get it to control, and you get it, and you guide it where you need to guide it. It's just one's a truck and one's a rocket. It's
Both
yeah.
very unique looking.
both
Yeah.
very stainless steel.
Yes.
Weird things. Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So thanks, Anshuk and Isaac. Those were really interesting stories. So my background is, I wouldn't say traditional, but I feel like it. I kind of grew up in Silicon Valley, so I had that kind of technological background, and both my parents are software engineers. I kind of grew up in a family of engineers, so it was almost not like expected for me to go into engineering, but I think I was just in that environment of seeing how engineering was so interesting and cool. I remember even when I was in middle school, my dad brought us to some iOS development camp.
Oh, that's so
yeah, I
cool.
was just thrown into that environment at such a young age, and just kind of it opened my imagination, I think, at a young age. So I think what really sparked me when I was young was seeing the Curiosity rover, and just hearing about that and being like, wow, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. So I think that's how I got into space and robotics, and I think right now I'm kind of want to just continue on both in my PhD. So yeah, right now I work on robotics. Similarly to Isaac, I also studied physics and computer science, also thinking that it could probably come in useful for aerospace down the line. And so, yeah, I now work on robotics. specifically for perception, manipulation, and eventually want to apply to space applications.
And for those who, like me, are very unfamiliar with robotics and unsure what some of those words mean, even though you probably understand the word, Maggie wrote a fantastic article on robotics explaining it. And I feel like also one of our top tier articles we've written so far with the Overview newsletter.
Yeah.
If you want an introduction to robotics and how it applies to aerospace exploration especially, great article.
You had some great videos down the end there demonstrating some of like the most recent capabilities. And I was going to ask, the computer science angle's kind of strange, right? Like, because aerospace nowadays seems to sort of be eaten up a little bit by computer science and AI. Like, I feel like
Almost everything is. It's all.
Yeah.
I guess that's right. Yeah, not just aerospace, but it feels like computer science. I don't know. It was sort of a good bet to put on if you wanted to get into aerospace industry. Computer science was a good way in. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, I felt that way a lot. I think growing up in Silicon Valley, there were so many computer science advancements that I knew, like, it was a good field to kind of get my toes in.
Yeah. Do you remember what you built for the iOS bootcamp?
I think, we made this app called Decisioneer, and then it's like helping you make decisions. And then we also, the next year, we made this app that helps people learn Taekwondo, because my sister and I
What?
both
That's so cool.
did Taekwondo when we were young. So,
So good.
The Decisioneer seems like a precursor to, decision-making research, decision-making under uncertain. No.
Yeah.
That'd be a cool job title, Decisioneer.
Yeah.
What about you, Tag?
I'll go last. So my name is Tag Durant. My background is mostly in acoustics, actually. My undergraduate research, I spent my time doing acoustics research with NASA Langley Research Center for their Sonic Booms project. So they're trying to make commercial supersonic flights over land a reality through lowering the sonic boom. And so they're going to be doing a test campaign soon where they fly their new sonic boom demonstrator over a bunch of communities. So I was doing preparation, helping for that. And then also I spent a bunch of time recording rocket launches, the acoustics of rocket launches. Went to a Falcon 9 launch and landing, went to a Delta IV Heavy, SpaceX Falcon 9, of course. There's always a bunch of those launches going on. That's where I heard my first sonic boom, and that was probably the coolest things I've ever experienced. 'Cause,
Yeah.
You've been to
He also-
you've been to more rocket launches than all of us combined, for sure.
and it was my job. I had to.
Yeah, and he also wrote an article for the Overview, which was very interesting,
Yeah.
about Rice Krispie.
How many bowls of Rice Krispie Loud is Saturn V
Yeah.
in SLS? Go read to find out.
Yeah. I have to guess.
More than one.
More than one. I like bowls of Rice Krispie as a unit. BRK.
That has to be a shout out to my professor Kent Gee, who came up with that metric. That was fantastic.
That's awesome. You have some great images in there, and I think a link to some cool videos. You can find stuff of this online, but I assume that the experience in person is quite different and hard to capture.
It's incredible.
Can you describe it? I mean, when those things go off?
The coolest one I went to was the launch of SLS with Artemis 1. So we got to go inside the compound for that instead of a bunch of microphones around the rocket. And then I watched it from across the river, and that launch happened at night at about, 2, 3 a.m. Florida time. And so it was pitch black. And when that thing lit up, it was literally like the sun rising. Like when it came into the air, those SRBs, those side boosters, just burned bright white. And so like it lit up all the whole city around us, the buildings behind us just became like it was daytime. And then, you have to wait about a minute for the sound waves to hit you. And when they start hitting you, you can feel it. Like its highest frequencies are in the lower ranges that we can't hear, but you can feel like in your chest. You can just feel the power of that thing as it just takes off and gets higher and higher. It was crazy. One of the coolest things I've ever experienced. So.
Yeah.
But what took me from that angle, so what I'm doing now is computational aerospace engineering. And so the reason I got into that was because during a lot of that acoustical analysis, I would use tools made by other engineers to help us analyze these vehicles, like help us analyze the sonic booms, help us predict how loud things are going to be. And I was like, I don't just want to use those tools, I want to create those tools. And so that got me into, I did some work with that, my NASA internship working with a tool called PC Boom. And I'm like, I want to become someone in graduate school who writes these kind of tools. So even though I feel like I'm not always the strongest mathematician, I was like, I want to learn how to do this. I want to make this my field of research. So now I'm working on building really good computational models for cool applications like Mars parachute deployment and hypersonic flight and stuff like that.
It's so cool. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned sort of not being the strongest mathematician. I feel like we all feel like that. But when
If I didn't feel like that before I got here, I feel like it now. There are some brilliant people here at
Yeah.
Stanford. They're so good.
definitely have some guns. But I guess it just goes to show, for the aspiring aerospace engineers, it's not really about being able to handle the equations
Yep.
or do well on a maths exam, right? If anything, it's just about sort of being inspired and, I don't know, having a strong interest in some of these sort of interesting and niche fields.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I feel like for me personally, math and physics and all those things don't come very intuitively. And other things maybe do more, but the reason why I'm still in it is because I love it. So, yeah.
I think that's the thing that unites us all. We have so much passion for this too. It's like, I think aerospace engineers are a particularly passionate group of people. I mean, we're all literally aiming for the stars, right? And we like space exploration. I feel like in general, like it's been fun to meet so many people who share the same kind of passion for what we do.
Yeah.
And it's great because it combines so many different fields, especially like, we all have experience with robotics or mechanical engineering related topics. And aerospace requires, electrical engineering, it requires mechanical engineering, and it requires, computer science. Aerospace really is like a fake major, it's like, it's really just a bunch of
Whatever
majors
you want it to be.
combined. Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be. So that means a few of us are doing fluids research, a few of us are doing entirely computer science AI research, it's all of it combined together creates this like really interesting field. So I think that's fun for everyone to explore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
many flavors for sure.
Exactly.
We have one more team member that we need to introduce. Harry, you want to come out here? Harry is our man behind the camera today, making this all work. He's also a fellow graduate student here at Stanford. Come borrow a mic.
Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Harry. I went to IUC, just like Anshuk. He's my roommate. Yeah, I'm also a JPL intern currently, and I'm super excited about the overview.
Oh yeah. Good to hear from you, Harry. You have the hardest job out of all of us.
Harry's also joining the Starlink team this summer at SpaceX. So
Congrats, that is so cool. We'll have to get you to write an article about that one.
Yeah.
We want to hear about that one for sure.
yeah. All right.
All right, well, anything else we need to hit before we say goodbye for this first podcast? Maybe a little bit about what to expect from this podcast. Isaac, you want to tell us a little bit?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. I mean, this first recording's a little different just because we wanted to introduce ourselves. Some of the people who have already subscribed at theoverview.org will know us from our articles and that type of stuff, but haven't heard our voices. So we just wanted to do this to say hi, let everyone know sort of what we're about. But in terms of what to expect, every 2 weeks we send out 1 or 2 news articles through our newsletter, and we'll also be sending out from now on a recording with somebody interesting, sort of telling their story, coming up in aerospace, talking a bit about their research. So if that interests you, yeah, www.theoverview.org, go ahead and pop your email in there. And yeah, they'll be quite short, I don't think any longer than 30 minutes, just to be able to sort of listen to them in the morning. And yeah, I think they're going to be really useful for an audience of aspiring aerospace engineers all the way up to people who are in the field and just sort of want to learn about what their neighbors are doing, basically. So yeah, check it out, and you can expect an upload from us every 2 weeks.
Yep, I know I'll be listening. This has been super useful for me, and I hope it'll be the same tool for everyone else out there who's trying to get a launch on their career. So, yep, with that, I think we will say thank you for listening. As Isaac said, check out our newsletter on the website, theoverview.org, and please share with your networks. Help us find more people that can contribute to the overview, who can benefit from it, and let us know if there's anything you'd like to see or hear now. And that's it. I think we'll be signing off today. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks, guys.
A launch in their career, is that a pun?
Yeah.